So of course the topic is fall fishing, and I'm going to give you guys a really close inside look of what I'm looking for when I'm out here in the fall. Of course, I'm out here on Lake Hartwell. This is a deep, clear inland impoundment. So of course everything that I say is going to be somewhat relative to what type of fishery you have, but this is going to give you a good look at how I target fish here in South Carolina. So I'm just going to show you a few of the hard baits that I like to use this time of year. Like I said, I'm going to focus mostly on shad imitators. So I'm going to have baits like crankbaits, lipless crankbaits, rattle traps, and you can see I use pretty much all shad patterns, all chrome, silvers, you know, just stay in that shady look. I've got a hard swim bait, hard multi-jointed swim bait, and of course the good old standby, the spinner bait. Never gets old, always works any time of the year, anywhere you go. So these are some of the hard baits that I like to use this time of the year. And these baits I can cover a lot of water with them. There's a lot of structure and a lot of places that are pretty much devoid of food and fish this time of the year, so I need to really be able to move quickly. However, these baits are baits that typically work better when the wind is blowing a little bit, or we got some kind of little bit of adverse conditions. If it's really slick, calm like how you see it is today, I'm probably not going to use baits like this. These are more reaction baits that move really fast. And days like this, just those offshore fish typically don't bite hard baits quite as well. I'm not saying you won't catch any on it, but these days like this are some of the soft plastics and swim baits like that, they tend to trigger strikes a lot better. So these are some of the hard baits, and let's look at where I like to throw them and how I like to use them this time of the year. All right, so I'm going to show you guys, you know, some of the places that I look for. I'm going to show you some things on my graph that I look for, and some of the real obvious stopping points that I like to start targeting in the fall. I used to fish a lot in the creeks in the fall time, and I still will, especially in a tournament situation. But the thing about fishing the main lake this time of year, the population of fish on the main lake, I don't care what body of water you go to, the population of fish on the main lake is going to be much larger. So if you can figure out how to catch fish on the main lake, you're a lot better off. I feel like the more I'm swinging, the more fish I'm catching, better my chance is of culling up and having bigger weight. But there are those times where I still have to go to the creeks and catch fish. So I'll show you a couple of things I look for, and the way you see exactly what I'm talking about. You know, so one of the things that I really like to target this time of the year is brush piles. I live here on Lake Hartwell. It's a deep, clear lake. People plant brush piles all year long, and all I do is go around finding with my electronics, and it's an easy way to target fish. I'll usually throw that hard swim bait until I find a brush pile. I'll just keep my eye on the graph as I'm modeling, or as I'm fishing. If I see a brush pile, I'll kind of stop and drop on it. A lot of times I'll just mark it, come back to it in an hour or so, and start just casting to it with the swim bait. And that just allows me to cover a lot more water. But I'll show you here on my graph. You can see this. You can see this point is very steep right here. And those are the things I look for. You can see it's a big island. You look behind us, there's an island here. That's the island. That's the island back here. And I'm just pulling off to this finger on the point right here. You can see this is the part where it's steepest. That's going to be the highest percentage spot, is right there. Anywhere where it's really steep, that's going to be the highest percentage spot. And I run all map on this graph, and then I use my structure scan on my other graph. If you don't have two graphs, don't worry about it. You can still do it. I'm 33 years old. I'm just now getting to where I have two graphs. So I did it for years with one graph and one itty bitty graph. So the size of the graphs, how many graphs, doesn't matter. Just learn how to use what you have. But I'll show you. There's a brush pile out here on the tip of this point, right on the steepest part, and that's what you want to target out here. Side scan left and right, and my traditional sonar. I still like sonar for certain things, so I still use that quite a bit as well. See, there's a few fish suspended. You see it on the sonar very well. You see that just little white dot? Those are fish right there. There's a good brush pile right there. See, now that's a brush pile. That's what you're looking for right there. I'll go ahead and throw another waypoint on it. And that's the brush. You want to find that, and if you look over here on your map, you see all of that's brush. So what I'll do is I'll come back through a waypoint on it. I'll make my first presentation. I'll cast towards it with the swim bait or top water. A stutter step's a good bait to throw on something like that. And I'll see if I can draw a quick reaction bite, because these places are not going to hold a lot of fish for a very long period of time. So, you know, if he's there, he'll probably bite. So I'll start with the stutter step or the swim bait. If we got a little bit of wind, especially if that doesn't work, then I kind of just work my way towards that brush pile. And the fish aren't always inside the brush pile. Sometimes they're off of it, they're around it. So I can actually set my boat on top of the brush pile, and then just kind of flip out around it, 15, 20 cast around it. And they just swim around it, just ambushing bait and so forth like that. Of course, we're mostly spotted bass here, and on Lake Hartwell, especially on the main lake. You'll catch an occasional largemouth as well, but it's mostly going to be spotted bass. So there's a good look at what it looks like on the graph, so you can see exactly what I'm looking at, what I'm looking for, and the baits that I'm going to use to target it. Fall time fishing. One of the things that triggers the fall time bite is, of course, weather conditions. You start to get a little bit of cooler nights, but the thing that puts fish on the move in the fall time, I don't think a lot of people think about it, but it works the same way it does in the spring, is the length of day. Once you start to get to September, October, the days start getting shorter, and the fish know to move. They have a biological clock. It just, when the days starts to get shorter, it says it doesn't matter how hot it is or how cool it gets, something clicks when the days start to get shorter and the fish start to move. And I think probably the food moves first, which triggers the fish to move. So what's going to happen is you're going to have all these huge pods of shad that roam just out in the middle of nowhere, out on the main lake. They start to pull up on these little transition places, humps and points and things. A lot of times it's still on the main lake, but they pull into these places that make it easier for you to fish, easier for you to target. It's really hard for you to just go out in the middle of nowhere, out in the middle of the river channel, and target a fish. But when they start to pull up on humps and points, all these little transition places, it makes it a lot easier for you to use baits and slim down your bait selection and target those fish. So that's what triggers the move to the shallows, or not even to the shallows, just triggers any kind of move. Is just the time of day, not the time of day, the length of day, and those environmental factors like weather, coolness. They know when they feel those days get shorter, they start to move, and that's what puts the fish in a position where we can catch them. The first bait I got here is just a square bill crankbait. This is the Echo 175. You know, I'm here on a clear water reservoir. It's extremely deep. This bait is probably going to be, your square bill crankbaits in general are going to work a lot better on more of your staying shallow lakes. But you still use them on the same transition points as you do, as like I'm going to show you here in the video. You're going to try them on main lake points and docks and places like that, because those are going to be the first places that shad start to pull up on. So the square bill crankbait, in particular this Echo 175, is the perfect profile. Comes in a wide array of colors that you can use and target. It comes to structure really well. It bounces off structure, so you can really kind of be aggressive with it and trigger strikes. The second bait I like to use this time of the year is, of course, the good old standby, the rattle trap. I can cover so much water with the rattle trap, and I can work so many different levels of the water column with the rattle trap as well. This is a bait that I think is perhaps underrated. This is just the same profile as the original trap. This is actually a floating trap. So this floating trap allows me to throw this bait a lot shallower. Fish tend to get really shallow this time of the year, you know, in 6, 8, 10 inches of water. And this bait will stay up in the water column. Not only that, when I wind this bait down, it'll stop on a dime instead of sinking. So that can really help you trigger a couple strikes as well. You can see it's just chrome and blue. That's just a good stand. You know, I start at with that color pattern in the fall time. But I typically, you know, that's a ½ ounce. This is a 1/4 ounce trap. You can see this is one I've been using. I've caught quite a few fish on. Just a good 1/4 ounce rattle trap, black and silver. This bait is probably the best bait ever to catch fish in the fall time. It's a small profile. Like I said, the shad this time of the year are going to be extremely small because the fish are typically feeding on this spring's shad spawn. So those shad haven't really matured. They're really small. If you ever looked at bait fish this time of the year, they can be really small. I mean, like a 1/4 inch long. So those are really good baits to throw to mimic those shad. Out here in Hartwell, I throw a multi-jointed swim bait a lot. This is just a Bill Magic swimmer. You can see it's a multi-jointed, just a plain good chrome. You see almost all my baits have some kind of version of chrome in it. It just works here. Just no excuse for it. And the good old standby, the spinnerbait. I think a lot of people forgot about him. This is it just works. It's one of those baits that really works. It's kind of catch-22 with this spinnerbait. It's a big bulky bait. You need wind to get the bite. However, it's really hard to throw a spinnerbait in the wind, so I kind of use these baits more often. But since not many people throw a spinnerbait anymore, that's a bait that I usually catch a lot. With a little bit of hard work and patience, fall time fishing can be just as rewarding for you as it is for me. I hope these baits, tips, and tactics will help you catch more fish as well. Thanks for taking time out of your day to watch this video. I really appreciate it. Share it on your social media sites and with your friends and family. If there's something you'd like to learn about bass fishing, comment in the section below and I'll try to cover it. I'm Brian Latimer. Make sure you come back next Thursday for a new video.